Hi, everybody. This is Therese. Hope everybody's having a great day today. For this video, in honor of Charlie Heaton, who was on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon last night. I'll watch that episode sometime later on tonight. Um, I'm going to talk about why is Jonathan Byers my favorite Stranger Things character. It's just really simple. I'm trying not to do the best I can, not to give way too many examples about the show or whatever, but I can't help it. Okay, so the reason why Jonathan's my favorite character, the man who I'm the guy I'm rooting for the most, why I want to stay alive so badly, why I want him to succeed in the end, to be a big winner in the end in life, if anything, at least, is because I relate to Jonathan, and because yeah, in the 80s, unfortunately, I was bullied, so is he, and I feel so sorry for him because I think that it just sucks because here he is, he's a teenager, he's going through his growth spurts, puberty, and all that stuff, or his hormones, or whatever that teenagers do and stuff like that. I mean, that happens to a teenager in their mind, not just physically transformation, but their their emotional health. Their what I'm saying. I mean, think about it. In the beginning of the show, he had a lot in his plate. Okay, it's bad enough. Parents had a horrible, bitter divorce. Father's an asshole and doesn't care about the kids, and he's an a-hole to Joyce, and then he's with another woman, all that stuff. It sucks. So not just that, no thanks to his a-hole father, um leaving him, the family and stuff like that, and there he goes, as whatever age he is, maybe 14, 15. I don't know how old, I don't remember how old the youngest age a person can start working, especially in the 80s at the time. Maybe teenager, I don't know. You know Jonathan, excuse me. All right. Okay, sorry about that, guys. um I'm not surprised. Well, anyways, I mean, when that happened, when once Lonnie left the family, I mean, boom, there he goes. Jonathan has to deal with school. Jonathan has to um help his mother raise Will, and then with school and then work. Well, guess what happened? He gets bullied. In high school, and that, you know what, I don't. Let's put it this way. That famous alley scene between him and Steve, his arch rival Steve at the time, I don't blame him for beating the crap out of Steve, because yeah, Steve took it too far. He took it too far, and Jonathan had enough. And I'm glad that Jonathan beat the shit out of Steve, because Steve deserved it. Okay, here I go, and hating on Steve right now. And that the way, you know what, if I'm sure that if Jonathan didn't beat the shit out of Steve, you know what, Steve would have still been an asshole, you know just like his see you next Tuesday friends. Okay. Sorry to Tommy, and I forgot what the name of the Tommy's girlfriend or whatever. Is it Cindy? Oh, I don't care. Who gives a crap? Okay, about that witch. Okay, so anyways, the beauty about Jonathan is just that there's something about him who makes, especially specifically Steve, a better person. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, that's it too. And you know, uh, I'm sorry that I'm glad that the love triangle was over between Jonathan, Nancy, and Steve. Is because Steve. I'm not gonna say anything. All right, really quickly, Steve. Um, they all Steve, Jonathan, Nancy. They're better off single in the show, and I'm glad those three are single, especially Jonathan. Um, and Nancy. They were young, they're teenagers and stuff like that, young adults, and especially I'm glad that however, not to compare Jancy, which is Jonathan and Nancy, and Stancy, Steve and Nancy. Um, I think the number one reason why Jonathan and Nancy lasted more than Steve and Nancy's relationship is because um, they started off as friends, and at the time they started off as friends, and they were bonded by trauma. But I think there are times that when they did have love and attraction for each other, and they need each other and stuff like that. It's just that it's so sad that what pissed me off about Jonathan was when he went to California, and it sucks that he didn't love Nancy enough to the point where he should have called Nancy, kept in touch with her and stuff like that. And I didn't. I'm glad that he found a friend in Argyle. It's just that really, like being a pothead, really. Oh, instead of call his girlfriend, come on, jeez. I thought he wanted he got Nancy. What the fudge? Beautiful, smart Nancy. What the hell? And he blew it. What the fudge? Ah! But anyways, I'm glad that the way that they broke up is very beautiful versus Steve and Nancy, but the way that Jonathan and Nancy broke up, it's like they fessed up. They were in the situations like life and death situation, and instead of the bad breakup between Steve and Nancy, and those two didn't talk to each other until like what happened in this final season and stuff like that. Kind of, those two Nancy and Steve started talking a little bit more in season 4, but but anyways, um, it just so. But anyways, the way Jonathan and Nancy broke up with each other, I mean, it's sad it was because of a life death situation in the lab, and the room is melting and they're sinking and stuff like that. And I don't know what the hell that is. But anyways, I'm glad that they fessed up to each other. They opened up to each other and stuff like that. And that un that marriage unproposal was so beautiful, is well done and stuff like that. So kudos to Duffer Brothers for writing it like that. um I'm so happy that those two broke up, because I mean, like, the last thing I want to see happen to Jonathan and Nancy, if they did get married just like their parents did and stuff like that, those two, if they got married, horrendous mistake. They're gonna end up like their parents. Like Jonathan's parents got divorced, had a bitter, horrible divorce, whereas Nancy's parents, they they have a loveless relationship. They don't need that stuff, and they don't want to be like their parents, and um, so I'm happy. I'm so happy that their breakup. If anything, their relationship broke up. However, I'm glad that they became the best of friends. You know what I'm saying? Their friendship became stronger than ever and stuff like that. And uh, now let's get back to Jonathan. Here we go again. What I love about Jonathan, he's like me too. Like we're the type of people who are not vengeful and stuff like that. Let's say, for example, if I see somebody, if I hear anybody who was mean to me, nasty to me, treated me badly, or who was enemies of mine, okay, and I found out that something happened to them, especially death or whatever, I'd feel bad. If something happened to them, I'd feel bad. Hi, everybody. Had to do a little pause there. Okay. So, anyways, where were we? Oh, yes. Jonathan, however, he, I thought I didn't see it coming, and I was scared like anybody else. Especially the famous the way that Steve. I was scared for him because Steve. Nobody was around Steve, and you know, he lost grip of that tower or something like that, right? And nobody's next to him, catch him or nothing. And there he was. Steve was falling toward his death, and then blackout. Then all of a sudden, you see someone's hand on arm or hands on Steve. Guess who it is? It's my man Jonathan. Jonathan was miraculously Jonathan must. I think that maybe Jonathan must have ran his ass off to catch Steve on time before Steve was gonna really knock on death's door. So he didn't have to, but he did. You know he but that's what I love about Jonathan. I mean, he's a very forgiving person, and I realize that so am I. like I don't have it the heart to wish ill on anybody, even death. Not even my worst enemy in my life, in my past, and stuff like that. And trust me, I've had some worst enemies. I'm sure I will never make amends with, but if anything, one thing's for a fact is that, like Jonathan, I will never will wish ill will on anybody, even toward death. And I thought that it was, you know, the I'll call it the Stonathan, Steve and Jonathan heart to heart talk. Uh, love it, love it, love it. Yeah, they admitted each other. I hate you. I hate you. I don't like. No, I don't like you. I don't like you. And then I love what Jonathan said to Steve. I don't like you, but I don't want you to die. So, that's especially it's not just that heart to heart talk that finally happened. I was so happy with that, but the fact that Jonathan saved Steve's life, I knew right then and there that finally about that's the moment they finally become friends, and they made peace and amends with each other. And then that heart to heart talk sealed the deal for them. And it was so beautiful when those two guys, and then there's Miss Robin, there's Miss Nancy, having a beer, wine, or whatever on top of the WSQK um roof of the radio station, talking and all that stuff. And then Steve and Jonathan were having their arms around each other's shoulders and stuff like that. uh, and here you go, Mr. Jonathan, continuing to do his magic to make especially Steve a better person and stuff like that, or help continue to make Steve a great person and stuff like that. And that's it's a win-win situation, especially for Jonathan. And but it's a win-win situation for both Jonathan and Steve because because finally Jonathan has friends his age, not just Nancy and then Robin and also Steve. So they finally he Jonathan has a best friend as Steve now, and Steve has um, true friends in uh, uh, true best friends in Jonathan, along with Nancy and Robin and stuff like that. Um, Anything else? No, that's about it that I can think of. Wow, my video's so long. Whoopsies. Okay. Until my next video, whenever that is. Peace out. Bye.